Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Ketubot, pages 60 through 66, Samach through Samach Vav. 60. Tanu Rabbanan. Meineket shemet ba'ala b'toch 24 chodesh, harezu lo titares v'lo tinaseh ad 24 chodesh. Did Rabbi Meir. So, if a woman was married to her husband and he died not that long after she had given birth to his child, and still within 24 months, she should not get betrothed and not be fully married. Why? Because we're concerned of the following. Maybe she'll become pregnant from her new husband, and she'll have to wean her first child off of nursing, and the new husband will not be willing to pay for essentially the baby formula, the beitzim v'chalav, the eggs and the milk, to feed someone else's child. Meaning the first husband's child is not his child, and he's not so concerned about the fate of this little kid, and so we might have a problem on our hands. Therefore, to avoid a disastrous outcome like that, the woman should not get remarried within that time frame if she has a young child. However, other Tanoim say, Rabbi Yehuda says, 18 months is enough to wait. You don't have to wait 24 months. Samach Aleph, 61. Kol malachot she'isos l'ba'ala nidos l'ba'ala. All those labors that a woman does for her husband, a menstruant, will also do for her husband, except for mezigat hakos, pouring the cup of wine, hatzas hamita, making the bed, hatzas panav yadav raglav, and washing the face, hands, and feet. However, when it comes to making the bed, that's only true in his presence. If he's not physically around to see her doing it, late lanba, it's no big deal, and she's allowed to do so. Samach bet, 62. The question is, for how long can a person leave the marital home without the wife's permission to go study Torah? And the answer is, at least according to one view in the Gemara, that if a person is a Talmud Chacham, or a renowned scholar, then they're allowed to go for 2 or 3 years even without permission. Now the classic story, of course, is Rabbi Akiva, who went for 12 years, but with permission. And we don't know exactly whether he never came back, or he did come back sometimes, but that's in the extreme. The lesser number of 2 or 3 years is for the average Talmid Chacham who wants to go and study Torah. Samach Gimel. Hamoredet al Ba'ala. If a woman rebels against her husband, then will reduce the value of her ketubah as a fine, as a punishment, by the amount of 7 dinars per Shabbos, per week, until she complies with her obligations. Now, the question is, what does it mean to rebel? What is she not doing that she was supposed to be doing? So Rav Huna says the rebellion is mitash mishamita, from marital intimacy. Rabbi Yossi says mimalacha. It's that she's not doing the work that is assigned to her by the marriage arrangement. Then, Samach Daled. Ma bein mored lemoredet. Why is there a difference in the value that we reduce from the ketubah, or the amount we add to the ketubah in the event that the man is being punished, relative to the men and women? Meaning the punishment for a woman's rebellion is twice as steep as the punishment for a man's rebellion. Why should this be? It seems to be unfair. So the Gemara explains, you can learn from the marketplace of the harlots. In other words, which side of the marriage is more interested and desperate for intimacy, the man, not the woman. Therefore, when the woman is the one who is rebelling, she's causing greater harm to the man than when the man rebels relative to the woman's harm. And thus, the punishment for this non-compliance is twice as steep for the woman as it is for the man. Samachay, 65. Mitziyat ha'isha u'maseh yadeh leba'ala. Whatever a woman finds, and her handiwork, belongs to the husband. V'yerushata, and as for her inheritance, hu achapet b'chaya, he can eat the fruits of that inheritance during her lifetime. Boshte u'pegama shela. However, if she were to be violated or to be harmed in such a way that she's entitled to boshet and pagam, the payment for embarrassment, and for pagam having been debased, so she gets to keep that herself. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer, Bizman shebeseter, when the injury is in a covered part of the body, La chalakim v'lo echad. Then she keeps 2/3 of the payment, and he the husband, gets 1/3 of the payment. However, if it's in an exposed part of the body that people will see this injury, lo shnei chalakim, he gets 2/3 of the payment, v'lo echad, and she gets 1/3 of the payment. Shelo yinoten miyad, and he gets paid immediately by the bad actor who hurt her. V'shelo, and as for her payment that she's supposed to receive, yilakach b'hem karka, they should buy real estate. V'ochel peros, and he, the husband, will eat the fruits of that real estate during her lifetime. And after he's gone, then she will have full possession of the karka that was bought in payment for the Boshet de Pagam. Samach Vav, 66. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Masechet Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, a story involving Yochanan ben Zakkai, and this is right after the Churban, after the destruction of the Second Temple. He was riding on a donkey. He was leaving Jerusalem. And his disciples were walking behind him. He's on the donkey, they're walking behind him. They saw a young girl. And they saw that a girl was collecting barley kernels between the dung of animals. So she's desperately collecting whatever grain she can find in the most offensive of places. But Nagim ben Gurion, and she was the daughter of Nagim ben Gurion, who was one of the wealthiest men in all of Jerusalem at the end of the Second Temple period. So the rabbi cried and he said, lucky is Israel, when the Jewish people do God's will, then no nation can defeat us or rule over us. However, when we do not do God's bidding, we'll be reduced to losing even to a very low-level nation. So what happened here? The daughter of one of the richest guys in the whole country was reduced to pauperism, to having nothing, and hoping against hope to collect some little scraps of food in the animal dung. And this reminded Yochanan ben Zakkai that we had our high points when we do God's will. We have our very, very low points when we don't do God's will. The lesson is to do Ritzon Shel Makom, do God's bidding. Everyone have a great week.